Tonight is not just another night, and this is not just another new moon. There are moments in time when the universe stops whispering and starts revealing, when things that have been hidden, delayed, postponed, or quietly accumulating finally step into the light. This is one of those moments, because tonight's new moon opens what many would call a final karmic window, not in the dramatic sense, not in the fear-based way, but in a deeply precise, deeply personal way. If you've felt like something in your life has been circling without resolving, if you've sensed pressure without knowing why, if you've felt like you've been doing the inner work, staying patient, staying aligned, yet waiting far longer than seems fair, this is why you're here. This new moon doesn't arrive gently. It arrives like an audit, not to punish you, not to expose you, but to clarify, to show you exactly what has been weighing on your path, and more importantly, what is finally being removed. Karma is often misunderstood. Most people think karma is about consequences, about payback, about being rewarded or punished for past actions. But karma is far more subtle than that. Karma is balance. It is energetic accounting. It is the universe keeping track of every agreement, every choice, every silence, every moment you went against yourself or stood in your truth when it would have been easier not to. And tonight, that accounting becomes visible. Some of you have felt blocked recently, not because you're doing something wrong, but because something old has been sitting on your path without you realizing it. An energetic debt that wasn't even yours to begin with. Responsibilities you inherited, roles you accepted out of fear, expectations placed on you by family, culture, relationships, or survival instincts that never truly belonged to your soul. This new moon doesn't ask you to release those things. It removes them. There's a difference. For so long, you've been trying to let go, to heal, to forgive, to move on. But tonight, the universe steps in and says, this was never your burden to carry forward. And when that realization lands, something shifts immediately. Not emotionally, energetically. The weight lifts without effort. The pressure dissolves without struggle. And for the first time in a long time, you feel lighter without having to fight for it. But this clearing opens a deeper door. Because once the false debts are erased, the universe turns your attention to the only imbalance that still matters, the moments you abandoned yourself. Not out of weakness, out of fear, out of love, out of survival. Every time you stayed quiet when your truth was asking to be spoken. Every time you chose comfort over alignment. Every time you settled because you were afraid to lose what little you had. Every time you played smaller than you felt inside just to keep the peace. Those moments don't disappear. They accumulate, not as punishment, but as tension, as internal resistance, as the quiet sense that your life isn't fully moving with you, but slightly against you. This new moon brings that tension into clarity, not to shame you, not to judge you, but to ask you a single powerful question. Are you ready to stop betraying who you really are? And what makes this moment different is that the universe isn't demanding an answer through force. It's offering alignment as the solution. The things you used to tolerate suddenly feel unbearable. The old version of yourself feels too tight, too restrictive, too small to live in anymore. Excuses no longer land. Justifications feel hollow. This isn't discomfort. It's growth announcing itself. This is where many people realize they've been living an almost life, almost aligned, almost courageous, almost free, almost living their purpose. That in-between space where everything feels close, yet nothing is fully claimed. And this new moon doesn't allow that limbo to continue, not because it's cruel, but because it's time. This isn't a moon of perfection. It's a moon of decision. A quiet but firm moment where life asks you whether you're staying almost, or finally stepping all in. Not dramatically, not recklessly, but honestly. And once that choice is made, everything accelerates. That's why this energy feels urgent. Not because something bad is coming, but because something extraordinary has been waiting for your permission. Your potential hasn't been sleeping. It's been paused, waiting for you to stop negotiating with fear. And tonight, the pause ends. There's something about the energy of this night that feels like a threshold, like standing between two doors, one behind you that no longer fits, and one ahead of you that hasn't fully opened yet, both demanding movement, both refusing stagnation. This is the moment before momentum returns. And as you step into that movement, something even deeper begins to dissolve. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. Unspoken agreements, old survival vows, invisible contracts made by earlier versions of you who didn't know they were writing rules for their future. Promises like, I'll accept less so I don't lose everything. I'll carry this alone so no one abandons me. I'll shrink so others feel safe. These shadow contracts have shaped more of your life than you realize. They kept you in draining situations, made you overgive, taught you to downplay your needs, convinced you that wanting more was dangerous. This new moon brings those contracts into the light and then lets them expire, not through effort, not through confrontation, but through growth. You've outgrown the version of yourself that made those agreements. And when you rise, old rules no longer apply. The weight lifts because it no longer belongs to who you are becoming. This is why the shift feels internal before it becomes external. Something inside you says, I'm done negotiating with fear. Not angrily, not defensively, calmly, clearly. And as those old bindings dissolve, a new clarity steps in. One that doesn't ask for permission. One that doesn't apologize for wanting more. One that moves from intention instead of insecurity. This is also where many people confront a surprising block. The fear of receiving. Not fear of failure, fear of abundance. A quiet guilt around wanting more. A belief that desiring ease, love, success, or support somehow makes you selfish or ungrateful. So you turn opportunities away. You minimize your achievements. You hesitate when life opens doors. This new moon exposes that pattern gently but unmistakably. You realize how often you asked for less than you needed, not because you were humble, but because you were conditioned to believe that receiving required justification. Tonight, that belief loosens its grip, because receiving isn't selfish, it's alignment. The universe isn't asking you to beg, it's asking you to accept, to stop pretending you don't see the doors opening, to stop shrinking when life tries to meet you at your capacity. You are allowed to receive joy without proving your worth. You are allowed to step into opportunity without explanation. You are allowed to let life support you without shrinking in exchange. And the moment you stop rejecting abundance, your energy begins to return. From places where you overgave, from relationships where you poured endlessly, from chapters where your worth depended on someone else's approval. This new moon acts like a magnet, pulling your scattered energy back to you. You see clearly where you've been emotionally overspending, where you stayed too long, where you chased validation instead of connection. And suddenly, leaving doesn't feel heavy anymore. Your power returns quietly. Your focus sharpens. Your spirit reinflates. You become more centered, more grounded, more selective with where you give yourself. Healing in this moment isn't about forgiveness or release. It's about reclamation. And as that reclamation completes, karma reveals its final truth. Karma is not only about correction, it is also about recognition. Every unseen act of integrity, every moment you chose kindness when bitterness was easier, every time you stayed honest when lying would have protected you, every choice to grow instead of retaliate, every quiet act of goodness that went unnoticed, none of it was wasted. This new moon begins converting that invisible effort into visible momentum. Opportunities align, energy cooperates. Things that felt blocked begin moving with surprising ease. Not because you forced them, but because you earned them. This is karmic return, not dramatic, not loud, but precise. If you've lived with sincerity, this energy meets you halfway. If you've loved right, you're about to live right. And if things feel like they're shifting in your favor, it's because they are. This isn't luck, it's accumulation. Your past self has been preparing this moment for you quietly, patiently, faithfully. And tonight, the universe hands you what you've been building toward all along. So stay open, stay honest, stay aligned. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove. Just meet what's coming with the same integrity that carried you here. Better days aren't coming. They're already moving toward you. What happens after the final karma portal opens? After a moment like this, many people expect fireworks, sudden events, instant manifestations. But the truth is, the universe doesn't always announce its biggest shifts loudly. Sometimes the most powerful changes arrive quietly, rearranging your inner world before your outer one has time to catch up. That's what happens after a karmic portal like this opens. Life doesn't rush, it recalibrates. In the days following this new moon, you may notice something subtle but undeniable. The things that once triggered you don't hit the same way anymore. Conversations that used to drain you suddenly feel unnecessary. Situations you once tolerated now feel strangely misaligned, almost foreign. This isn't emotional detachment, it's energetic maturity. Your nervous system is adjusting to a new baseline, one that no longer accepts chaos as normal. You may feel moments of silence expanding around you. Fewer distractions, fewer people demanding your attention. This is not isolation. This is space being created so your energy can settle into its new configuration. When karma clears, noise reduces. When alignment strengthens, unnecessary connections loosen on their own. Some people will interpret this phase as loss, but it isn't. It's refinement. You are no longer available for cycles that require you to overextend, over-explain, or overperform just to be accepted. The universe doesn't remove people or situations to punish you. It removes them to protect the frequency you're stepping into. Anything that can't meet you where you're going begins to fade without drama. This is also when intuition sharpens. You start knowing things before they happen, feeling clarity without evidence, trusting impulses that don't come from anxiety but from calm certainty. That's how you know the karmic clearing is real. Fear feels loud and urgent. Alignment feels quiet and grounded. And here's something important no one talks about. After karma clears, life may test you one last time. Not to see if you fail, but to see if you remember who you are now. Old patterns may knock lightly. Old versions of people may reappear. Old opportunities may present themselves again in a familiar form, not because they're meant to return, but because you're meant to respond differently. This is the confirmation phase, when you choose differently without effort, when you don't feel tempted to repeat what drained you, when your body naturally says no without guilt. That's when you know the portal worked. You didn't just understand the lesson, you embodied it. And from that point forward, momentum begins building quietly but steadily. Life starts responding faster. Delays shorten. Resistance thins. Not because you're pushing harder, but because you're no longer working against yourself. This is when people start saying things like, "Everything feels easier lately," without being able to explain why. It's because karmic friction has been removed. Your energy is finally moving in the same direction as your intention. And as this stabilization happens, something even deeper unfolds. A redefinition of identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is becoming. You start moving as someone who already is. And that shift changes everything. The timelines split, you can feel but can't explain. There is a moment after every major energetic clearing where time itself feels different. Days pass faster. Decisions feel heavier. Choices carry more weight than before. This isn't imagination. It's what happens when a timeline begins consolidating. Before this new moon, many of you were straddling multiple versions of your future, not because you were confused, but because you were unfinished. Different outcomes were still possible because your energy hadn't fully committed to one direction yet. That's no longer the case. This portal doesn't split timelines dramatically, it narrows them. You may notice that indecision feels uncomfortable now. Staying stuck feels exhausting. Overthinking drains you faster than action. This is because your energy no longer supports half choices. The universe has reduced your tolerance for misalignment. You are being asked to move with clarity, not urgency, but honesty. And here's the truth most people miss. When a karmic cycle completes, you don't just leave something behind. You leave a version of yourself behind. The one who survived, the one who endured, the one who adapted to environments that were never designed to support you. That version carried wisdom, but it doesn't need to lead anymore. This is why you may feel moments of grief without knowing why. You're not mourning loss. You're honoring the self that got you here. Growth always includes a quiet goodbye. As this happens, your future self begins pulling you forward more strongly. You may feel called toward things that don't make logical sense yet. Ideas, desires, impulses that feel sudden but deeply familiar. That's because the timeline you're stepping into isn't new, it's remembered. You've visited this version of your life in dreams, in intuition, in moments of longing you couldn't explain. And now, alignment is turning memory into movement. People who align with this new timeline will find you naturally. Opportunities that match your energy will present themselves without force. And things that don't belong will fall away without confrontation. This is not chaos. This is precision. The universe is no longer scattering your energy across multiple paths. It's focusing it, condensing it, preparing it for momentum that doesn't require burnout to maintain. And here's the final truth of this karmic portal. Nothing you step into next will require you to abandon yourself to keep it. No opportunity will demand your silence. No relationship will require self-betrayal. No success will come at the cost of your peace. That was the old contract, and it has expired. If you feel calmer than expected, trust it. If you feel detached from things that once mattered, trust it. If you feel like something important has ended without drama, trust it. You didn't lose anything real. You cleared the path, and now the universe isn't testing you anymore. It's walking with you.